Marky with the badass intro. She is putting it down, had us all bobbing our heads over here. Way to go, Marky. And of course, on top of that, she's the boss. So way to go, Marky. We appreciate you. We love you. So that's a bad intro, man. I saw you. Hey, and Doug is not the one to be getting down with the music too much, but even Doug, he couldn't help. He was bobbing his head. I saw you, Doug. I saw you bobbing your head, brother. Yes, you were. He's not one to do it, but I saw you bobbing your head, man. So, hey, really quick before we get started going, um, our brother from another mother, uh, Chris Scallon, can't be on the show tonight. He's going through some personal issues with the family. Um, please keep him in your prayers. He's going to need it for the foreseeable future. Um, we love you, brother, and we hope everything turns out okay. So anyway, keep him in your prayers. Doug, do you want to comment on that?
On Chris's thing?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, yeah. Please, man. They have some family health issues they're dealing with. Chris is okay, just in case you're wondering. He's fine. He's Chris. Chris is like a fucking cockroach. You don't ever have to worry about Chris. Um, anyway, just keep him in your prayers, please, or whatever it
absolutely.
is you do, whatever your
Ab-
higher power is.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely. And so, man, Doug, what you been doing for the last week, man? Were you on last week's show? I think I was the one that had to miss it last week. What you been doing for the last week, man?
I've been with you, man.
Were we together last week?
Oh no, I left you. You went to DC and I came.
That's right.
I had
That's
to
right.
go somewhere. I had to go to PCIS. And
That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, you were
I
down South Florida.
actually, yeah, I have been home 3 days in the month of August. That's how many days I've been on the road for a long time. So I'm home all week because I got doctor catch up. So it's me and the old people. Been
Right.
hanging out with old
And
people because
and we have some fabulous news, man. I forgot about this, man. We can't forget the fabulous news. Uh, Ad passed her certification.
oh yeah. I was in Virginia. Ash had to take her test, which has been frightening because Mutts with a Mission. Shout out to them. They saved my life. They do not play. They do not play.
And we're talking about your service dog, Ash. We're
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
here.
yeah.
Yes,
The
yes.
dog has to, it's an accredited dog, like, Ash is top tier. So they don't play. You have to pass that test or they'll take your dog and put the dog back in school. And I tell people that. You hear me say it, Raul, and they
Yep.
laugh at me.
Yeah.
And they fuck with her basically, regardless of what her vest has on, or you
Right.
see it, you
Uh,
get mad
yeah.
more than I
Yeah.
do because you know me, I'm just out in outer space. But um anyway, she passed with flying colors. She didn't do one thing wrong, and I got to tell you this. So they made me walk through a Petco and there was a glass case about 2 foot off the ground full of ferrets, like 15, a dozen ferrets. I don't know. They were just everywhere. And they were at the exact height as Ash and Ash's head. And she had to walk between that cage and another barrier. It was like a shelf, but it had some like stuff to make the pathway skinnier. She walked right by him and didn't flinch a second. She never even looked at the ferrets. And I mean, they were like 3 inches from her head, running around, dancing and shit. So anyway, I was impressed with my
So
dog.
that's huge news for everybody that knows Doug. Ash travels with us everywhere. She is more than just, of course, she's a service dog and she's amazing. She does things. Yes, she is. Yeah. Well, she can't see her now, but she was laying down for a second. But she does amazing stuff for Doug. And this test has been kind of looming. So anyway, she passed with flying colors, got up there and surprised all of us. We were all worried she's going to have to go to rehab school or something. So
Summer school. I kept telling her she was gonna have to go to summer school
to
to
summer school, to summer
straighten
school.
up.
So That's a huge deal, huge weight off of Doug's chest, I'm sure. And I love Ash, like she's my own. So I'm just glad
Yeah.
that she passed and then did what she had to do. So anyway, and so everybody's sitting here looking at the screen and they're looking like, hey, who's that girl? Like who's that girl sitting there, right? So it's right there. You go, and she starts out throwing gang signs. You see that sort of thing?
I don't
She
even
threw
know a
out.
gang sign.
She's our West Coast connection, and
There you
she's
go.
throwing gang signs out there. We don't even us Florida boys have no idea about that, right? Doug? We don't know anything about gang
No.
signs or anything like that, man. We don't do that over here. But anyway, Sandra, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. We can't say enough. And we always say this, you can't just walk onto this show. You got to have, walk the walk and talk the talk a little bit. And that being said, I'm not going to steal your thunder. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for inviting me to be here. It's an honor, to say the least.
The honor is
Yeah, I
ours. The honor is ours.
thank you guys. So yeah, I did 28 years at Orange County Sheriff's Department. Always wanted to be a sex crime investigator since I was a kid. My family thought I was absolutely nuts. No law enforcement in my family at all. It was the typical Jewish family from New York, and they were all doctors and lawyers, and here I am wanting to be in law enforcement. So yeah, I did 28 years there. Most of my career was in investigations, other than, your patrol and the jail time we have to do in there. So I love working sex crimes, domestic violence, that kind of stuff. We finally started a peer support program back in 2012. Thank you to Heather Williams, and started that, and I was all over that. Became a coordinator after she left, and I finished as a sergeant, investigative sergeant there. And then because of my lovely children and my bleeding heart, I decided to pay for college. So I was like, well, I got to keep working. So I went to the Riverside DA's office where I am now. And again, I'm a peer support coordinator, kind of got that up and running. And I'm here. That's where I'm at. And I
And now
to all of us.
it's also in your family, correct? I mean, you have your husband's also.
Yeah. So I met my husband in 1996, not dating myself. I know I look like I'm 29 and perfect,
Yes,
right?
ma'am, you do.
But
That's right. Yes,
I
ma'am.
met him at Baker to Vegas in 1996. And we've been married ever since with two children that are young adults in college now. And we went through the thick and thin. I always say we checked every box one time that you don't want to check, but we promised we wouldn't check it twice. And so far we haven't checked it twice. And so I love him, and I can't imagine venturing all these rough roads and good roads without him. So
Gotcha. So thank you again, and welcome to the show. We've already told you there's no rules, so we're gonna kind of just jump right into it. And
yeah.
the topic tonight is getting a mental health toolkit. And developing that for yourself. Kind of a toolkit for yourself, and what that would look like. I mean, what do you think would be the first steps into developing a mental health toolkit for one's personal self? I'm shooting to both of you. What do you guys
So
think?
yeah. Doug, do you want to go first or you want me to go?
I'm gonna probably go way different than you, so go
Okay.
be my guest. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm off the
Well,
walls, Sandra. So I don't know if you're familiar, but I'll go into left field real quick. So you go ahead and start it off.
all right. So it depends. So it depends where you're at in your career, right? Like when I was in 1995, we didn't have any peer support or mental toolkit or resources. Our toolkit was, do you have your gun? And, oh, do you have an ASP? So it wasn't ever talked about. And so now it's like, if I'm going to build a mental health toolkit, I want everything in it. I want like stuff that, for example, like, do you have hobbies that you do? Do you have good people in your life? Because if you don't have good people in your life, then what do? We make poor decisions. You're right, Doug. I might stay more centered, but also there's whatever works for you, right? What work? Everybody's different. Like my toolkit's going to be different than your toolkit, right? I mean, I love to garden. That's my toolkit. If I don't garden, I get anxious. That's like my therapy. But everybody else's toolkit may look differently. So I would put a bunch of stuff in it. Whatever makes you happy and keeps you making good decisions should be in that toolkit.
I think you're right on the money there. I always use the example. You remember when we were in the academy, right? And you be doing defensive tactics and learning how to fight and defend yourself. And they give you all these different moves, from everything from the arm bar to doing the a roundhouse, karate chop kick, and they give you all this stuff. And maybe the roundhouse was good for you because you're 7'5", right? And it's just easy for you to bring your foot around. But the person that's 4'9" just doesn't really work for them, and to be more realistic, an armbar takedown for somebody that's a little smaller in stature is a little bit harder to do than somebody that's bigger in stature. So my point is this, is that just like you said, um, we have to go ahead and try as many things as we can. We get exposed to them and then start picking out what works for us. Because it's going to be different for each person. But the big deal is, and I'm going to probably harp on this all night, is to get started with developing some of those skills and getting some of those tools in there. Because number one, if you're not exposing yourself to it, if you're not doing the things, you're never going to get there. You're never going to help yourself. So yeah, we got to start somewhere. And you're right. I'm gonna say one more thing. Let's turn it over to you, Doug. But I will tell you that the man and the officer I was in '92, dating myself, right? When I first came on, it's different than the officer and the man I was in 2002. Different than the man and the officer I was in 2012. Different than the man and the officer I am now. So to the toolkit evolve with me. I want to say yes. I hope it. I hope it. What do you think, Doug? Where you coming from?
I'm actually I'm shocked. I thought we would have different views on it, but I couldn't have said any better. She said exactly what I would. I would have just used different words, and the different word I use when I'm speaking is joy. So I would say first, you have to identify, because usually when you're in the shitstorm and you need this type of stuff, it's hard for you to think clear. So you need to identify quickly what brings you joy, and whatever it is. The most people, when it comes into the mental health world, especially in law enforcement, they only think that the tools they have to use, and this is what I've learned from speaking to people, they just think it's the things that are offered to them. Yoga for first responders, which is amazing. I love it. But that's what they think they have to do in order to achieve wellness. Not everybody can go to the gym. Not everybody can go to it. Those are the things that are presented to you, and you just need to identify what brings you joy, the things that you like to do the most. You also have to identify that you being yourself, you have to make yourself a priority. That's another thing people don't do when you're serving like we did for so many years, and you come home and serve. And I don't know if you know, Sandra, I have 5 kids, so I would come home and have to serve the 5 kids. You're that's a lot, and so you just get used to serving others. And when you're in the midst of the dark hole, or you're sitting in a dark hole, you need to make sure that you understand that it's time to put yourself first. I had a hard time with that. And so, that's the base of the toolkit. And then your toolkit's going to be what you can afford too. Don't go buy, like, I say this, I mean, my financial situation was different, but I was buying things for my toolkit because I thought they were going to make me happy. And all they did was bring more stress into your life. The more toys you buy, the more stress, and then the more you got to do. So those are important factors. That's what was going on in my head.
So let's get a little more specific here. Sandra, when he says prioritize yourself, what does that mean? I mean, break that down, and if you could, I mean, how do you prioritize yourself? And like you said, let's just kind of take it from the 90 something, 1990 something Sandra that just joined to now. I mean, what would that look like? Prioritizing yourself, because we get it gets foggy, doesn't it? When you start adding, and I'll use Doug's example. When you start adding the puppy, the relationship, the kids, the mortgage, the rent, the hours that you're having to work, depending on what you're doing at the job, on what they. So how do you prioritize yourself? Because I think we all agree that's got to be number one, right? Like you got to prioritize yourself. So being that's how do we do that?
Yeah, I did an absolutely horrific job at prioritizing myself in my first career.
I
Yeah.
think Doug can raise his hand on that one too, right? We can raise all hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Our priority was work, right? Call outs, victims, our partners, right? Everything was work, work, work. And I don't think that part of it can be good, right? But the off-duty Sandy was like I stopped running, right? I wasn't gardening. I was coming home frazzled, trying to pick up the pieces that my husband was running the kids around and trying to still be mom, right? And wife. Horrible job. It was, I look back and I'm like, oh, I wish I could have known what I know now back then. So prioritizing, it's hard to do when we're A players, right? Because we leave everything at work. Like I was leaving everything at work and I was coming home and all I wanted to do was cuddle my dogs on the couch. Like I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to do anything. So prioritizing, and it goes back to remember when we were young, and you always hear these at conferences, like cops used to fish, cops used to run, and then you stop doing the stuff that you love, and you need to find that, like Doug said, that joy back. So it's so hard when when you get lost at work, or at least this is how it was for me. When I got lost in my work, I thought I was prioritizing myself because I was doing it at work. I forgot that I had to prioritize off-duty Sandy, but I got it all screwed up. So and when the pieces started falling apart and my personal life started falling apart and my kids falling apart and everything happening, then it forces you to go, okay, where's my joy? I need to make a list of things that make me happy or things that I want to invest in off duty, normal Sandy. Because I bet all of our identities were all being a cop, right? That was everything. It wasn't being a mom to me. It wasn't. Everything was work. So um, I suggest that people don't wait until like how it got for us, probably, where it just all fell apart. Like keep that toolbox filled with stuff. And I think it changes over time. Do I like running anymore? No. I like to walk. I like to be outside. It changes as we get older. Um, so that's how I look at it, if that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
no, it does. I think that, and then you hit what I was trying to get at is I think prioritizing yourself means just that, making sure that you're important and you're finding that joy, but that joy may change. What brings you joy may change over time, right? Um, you know, I know there were things I was doing in '95, as far as my job, and I just remember that was the year I got married. So and then in 2005, I found a lot of joy in coaching. coaching kids. And that was not something that if you would have told me in '95 that that'd be something I would do. Yeah, probably not, but I found joy in that. Lucked up on it, then I stopped doing that, right? So and again, like you said, it got to the point where the wheels fell off, and now in my 50s, I'm coaching high school football, and I love it, But that's able to go back to something that I did find earlier on and get some joy. So what do we do next now? So once we prioritize ourselves and we're finding joy, uh, is there anything else? I mean, let me tell you what I do. The next thing I do is I always try to remind myself that I'm worth. I try to remind myself that I am worth the effort to do these things, prioritize myself, because sometimes I just think we kind of float around, just kind of do it. And for me, work became, I was really good at work, like you said, but I was kind of floating around after work, at home. And now a big thing that I found is that I've got to keep reminding myself that I'm worth the effort
Yeah.
and to put that effort into whatever it may be, uh, and to not. And I got a big thing about thinking negative and positive. And Doug always says how positive I am, and that I work hard at that. I work hard at making sure I stay positive because when it gets negative pretty in its ugly form. So I work hard at that. So what do you guys do what's in your toolkit that lets you prioritize yourself, and what do you do to make sure that you remind yourself this is the way I need to be going? Doug, I'll put it
Yeah.
to you first.
Oh,
That's
go Doug. Yeah.
that's difficult for me. Obviously, you were with me, 3 years ago. 3 years ago to the week last week, I had a stroke, and it physically just devastated my life, and because I was always a physical guy. All my joy, as you can't see because of the screen protector, I have $20,000 worth of carbon fiber that I used to ride 500 miles a week and swimming and surfing and biking and running, and that came to a screeching halt overnight. And so at 52 years old when that happened, which was that's just a whole nother traumatic experience. But I'm getting to the point is I had just come from doing triathlon, from doing Escape from Alcatraz. So I was physically in shape. So mentally, it messed with my head. Like, how could this happen to me? So I had to evolve, which I suck at, because I've been doing that my whole life. And same thing with my work. Like everything I've done, I've always invested myself 100% into it. And that multiple, remember Sandra said earlier, one identity. I had multiple identities. So I was at work in a kill mode like Raul. We spent our entire careers in the mindset of kill mode. Then you come home in your family mode. And then I had athlete mode because I was chasing a world championship my whole life. So I had like all that. So you're talking lineage, and I'm still going to get to the point. So I had to turn to my family, which was I didn't really have a choice. Obviously, I had caretakers. I had Karen and I still have Raul. Most people know I won't leave the house without Raul. And I'm going to add to that and say you're really good, Raul, at your self-care, and you don't you ride your motorcycle, you hang out with your buddies, and you're a civil servant still. Like you went from one mode and flipped it into saving and helping mode, and you just don't see it because you're so busy doing it. And I know that brings you joy. And coaching football, I mean, those are just amazing things. That's just a testimony to your character. But I had
Right.
to go a totally different direction and find joy in my family and the things that were around me. Because, we're always looking for stuff. Sometimes we're surrounded by the greatest things and we're so busy and we're so like this that we forget the things that are around us. So, it's okay to just be with yourself. That's difficult at times. I can't be in my own head. I have to always be occupied, or I have to have my like a little game going in my. But your surroundings, your family, your spouses, your children, I pushed, as I say, man, my whole career, those everybody was always second. You know what I mean? Even kids were always pushed away because of adult things. And and here they are. They're still here. They're grown adults now, and they're the first people to step up to plate. So, sometimes just look around. That's my point. Look around you already and see the great things that you have, and just that should be, I learned that the hard way because I was a material person, had to have the nice house and the fancy cars and all that stuff. And now I've realized that just time, just you don't really know how valuable time is for your toolkit until a doctor tells you, "Hey, buddy, you ain't got much time." Those type of life events are eye-opening. Raul, you understand it. I understand it. Sandra, giving birth to a kid, that's a life. That's probably just as traumatic as any of those
Oh
things.
yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
saw
Especially
five
coming out of
different
me,
things.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fuck,
I saw
it was
five of them
traumatic.
shoot out. Woo, I'm still
Man,
traumatized by children.
I'm traumatized by my kids. I never had that maternal, real strong feeling. When
right.
I was young, I was like, I want to be a sex crime investigator, and met my husband. He's like, I ain't marrying you unless we're having kids. I'm like, okay, I guess we're having kids, but just not right now. And I waited till I was 30 because I was like, I've got to finish my degree. I've got to, get my career going. Again, everything was focused on career. And that's how I was brought up. My dad, I was an only child. My dad brought me up. You go to high school, you go to college, you get a career, then you get married. So in my mind, it was like dun 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 dun, right? And going off of what Doug was saying is if we don't like, and I'm still a work in progress. I don't prioritize myself as much
We
as I
all are.
should.
Yeah.
Okay. It's been really hard. I'm 52, right? And 53 in a month, but we don't talk about that. But I I I mean, now I have more time being at the DA's office because, I'm on call just a little bit. I'm not answering the phone at 2 a.m. every night anymore. I'm not doing all that crazy stuff. And so I have more energy to do my joys, right? But am I completely there yet? No, I'm not. Because I thought when my kids turn 18, everything just gets easy. No, no, no. It hasn't gotten easy. And there's still issues that my kids are going through that I have to be there for. I'm not going to just like ignore them. But I started prioritizing myself better. Do I have a huge roadway to still navigate for that? Absolutely. And I don't want people to think like, oh, if you're not doing it perfectly, you're failing. You know, just start somewhere, I think
Right.
is a big thing.
So we've got that down. It's in reference to prioritizing yourself. Another tool that I think of a lot is the company I keep.
Oh, yeah.
And that has changed, and it always changes over the years, right? And I wanted to kind of throw this in. We are always a work in progress. This never stops. This is always a work in progress, especially I think for us that allowed the wheels to fall off, and now we're just kind of getting them back on, decently. But yeah, the company that we keep can affect everything that's going on up here. you know, and Doug can attest to this, and I'm sure Sandy, if we talk to you about some stuff, you know, uh, we can be in the darkest of places, and we turn to the asshole friend and ask them that's in the dark place just like us, and they don't know how to get out. They ain't got no good advice for you, and some of them may love that you're as miserable as they are, not trying to help you out. So, the company that you keep is a tool in itself. and Doug, I'll let you talk about how the array of friends that you make sure you keep, and that it's not just police. But I'll let you go further.
Yeah, the array of friends that I keep. I don't hang out as much as I'd like to, but I love to surf, and I have my surfing buddy that and friend since we were kids, and he lives right down the street from me, and I make it a point, and he makes it a point once a week to communicate. He just bought me a new surfboard a couple weeks ago. And you got to understand, like if you could see around, there's all pictures of Hawaii surfing in my office here, and what an important part of my life that is. So I have him in my array, and my triathlete, my training partner that brought me to every Ironman. Uh, if I wouldn't have trained with him, I wouldn't have my world championship, any of that type of stuff. 30 plus years that guy's been, I keep him around because the positivity and the reminisce. We're old guys now. We don't get to do that, but we still make each other feel good. Um, uh, I spend every day with my wife. And as I tell people all the time, like I prayed for her and God gave me to her. Or how do you say that? God gave her to
God
me.
gave her to you, yeah.
God gave her to me. And so I haven't forgot that. I haven't forgot what it was like the first day I met her, even though I don't remember marrying her. I do, I do remember how great, she is and was to me, and I don't forget that. So, and then I have an angel of a daughter, and I have four of the coolest boys that that most dads could ask for. And so I now, I take joy in all their stuff and all the stuff they're doing. And those are important to me. And I have you. And they're all great things, but I have Chris and I have Richie, who's really smart. Chris is really smart. Chris Fields is like a big brother. I've got all these guys on the team, but I have you in my life every day. And so you understand me better than anybody. And I know that. And I understand you better than anybody. And you know that. And so there's like peace in that. And peace is really important in your life too. I tell people all the time, when you don't have when countries don't have peace, they go to war. And the worst person you ever want to go to war with is yourself. And so you got to have that peace. And so leave toxicity out of your life, because toxicity takes away peace. And toxicity can come through many things: internet, uh, social media sites, which I think are just disgusting most of the time. Um, things like that. Uh, Not watching dirty stuff on TV or your computer, any of those things, that's toxicity, and that's going to rob you of the peace in your life. So those are important factors to keep in mind too. And then before we get off, remind me, Raul, I want to talk about building building your toolkit before we leave,
Yeah.
because I'll
We'll
forget
definitely
that.
get to that. So, Sandy, this same question. I mean, how important is it to you to have the right people around
Yeah. One of my huge hurdles or horrible times of my life was 2009. I'm working my dream job in sex crimes. I can't believe I'm finally there, right? I'm a young little detective, and most of my partners are guys. And I thought everything was fine at home. But again, knowing what I know now, everything was prioritized at work. I was probably completely ignoring my husband completely. I know I was. And I had an affair. And no one ever talked about like the girl cops having affairs. Everyone used to talk about, oh, you're a guy, you're a cop, they're the ones screwing around on their wives. But no one ever, and then if you're the girl cop, you were like the whore, right? And the guy was like, oh, good job, man, and the girl was the whore. And but worse than that is the people around me, and it was a very short affair, but it doesn't matter. It happened, right? But the people around me were all encouraging me to do it. I take full responsibility for doing it. I don't blame anyone except myself. But you're right. I learned very quickly, in 2009, I was like, okay, I if I hang around with people like this, just like if you hang out with people that are doing dope, what are you going to do? You're going to do dope, right? So I learned like I had to cut these friendships off. And there was good parts of these people that I really enjoyed away from the whole let's have an affair kind of thing. And I grieved. It was sad. And I wanted to fight it because it's like, why can't they be my friends? But no, they didn't respect me. They didn't respect my husband. They weren't good for me because it was going to completely ruin everything. At this point, we had two young kids. And so, yeah, when you said that, I immediately think that. And since that date, I have always tried to put people around me that are good for my husband and I and my family. Because if you're not, I can't have you in my life. I just can't.
And so we got to take inventory of that as we go through life. You got to take inventory of the people that are around you and ones that you're gonna, what word I'm looking for, let influence you, or I'm not sure that's the right way to put it. Uh, but have that kind of access to you. We got to take inventory of those friendships and decide how we're gonna proceed. And yeah, if it's this is the hard part. It's the hard part now, especially if you've been with somebody, a partner, a job partner, a friend, and the way Doug put it, and they're just toxic, but you've been around that person for years. The hard part is identifying it to be what it is, and then letting it go.
Yeah.
And
True.
so that's I am not sitting here preaching like it's just, hey, just cut Sandy off. Well,
Yeah.
it's not that easy. Not
No,
that
it
easy
was
just to
it
cut
was
cut
it
off.
was hard. But, I wanted to save my marriage. And so if I wanted to do that, I knew I couldn't be around these people. My husband wouldn't want me around those people. But in the end, like I've seen those people 20 almost 20 years later. We were at a memorial for one of our partners that died by alcohol. And I saw one of them and I was very nervous, I was like, oh gosh, what do I say? And it was fine. You just say hello and it's okay. And you know, at the end of the day, what's like when you say what at the end of the day, what's most important? Your joy. You got to prioritize yourself and you just move on. Find people that are good for you.
Like I always tell people, if it's important to you, you'll make the change.
Yep.
And this needs to be important to you. This needs to be a priority, and making yourself, just a positive life, and mentally healthier. So, why would you want to keep the toxic stuff around you? No, nobody really wants to be. I don't think. I don't think anybody really wants to be toxic. So, if that's the case, you got to identify. And sometimes, uh, the right person just rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah.
And even the right person, the wrong person. However you want to state that, but there's some people just rub you the wrong way. You guys are probably good, good people to other, but when you guys get together, you just throw oil and vinegar in it, and you got to make a decision. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that part of it. Doug, you wanted to get into building the toolkit or something you wanted to talk about, man. Jump in. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, first I want to commend you and your husband because most people just quit and give up
Yeah.
and they don't care. And you made a comment that about the woman cop being the whore in the department. I worked with some badass women cop. I worked in a super badass police department. Like you could not be a punk and work in the city that I worked in. And these women were incredible. And I grew up with them. And we all did the same thing. And I'll just tell you, nobody ever looked at them like that. They were just going through, and I learned through my therapist that when you're trying to buy joy, bought the cars, I had the house, I had the yacht, I had all that crap. And it wasn't enough. So I was going drinking and I was into chaos and women. And I did it to Karen, right before we were married and horribly. And what I learned through that is when you don't have joy in your life, we were just talking about that, in peace, you're going to go. It's no different than the addict who goes beyond imaginable quest for their drugs or whatever it is. You're going to do those things. So I was told not to, that's a human thing. That's a human thing. And if we were perfect, our names would be different. My name would be Jesus if I was perfect. And so, I would just encourage you not to beat yourself up and commend you in the same for being an example to other people. As Karen always says, she forgave me, and forgiving means never talking about it again. And she has this saying, the perfect marriage is two imperfect people
Yeah.
with the willing not to quit.
Yeah.
And so that's a great example you set for all these young people that are listening, young cops too, as well. But
Yeah,
so
I don't beat myself up at all. What it was actually, I used to say this to my husband. It's like, I think it was kind of meant to happen, because what it ended up doing is I was able to completely recoin who I was at work. My nickname was Team Mom, so I kind of recoined myself, where I wanted everyone to look at me as a really good partner. I didn't want them to really look at me like as a piece of meat, if that makes sense. I wanted them to look at me as a good cop. And so I focused on being a really good cop. And then the whole thing with peer support that started, and then me teaching about my life to help others. Uh, I think a lot of people ended up respecting me more for being honest and taking off that scarlet letter, I called it, and exposing it so other people could learn from it. So I'm not embarrassed by it anymore. I think it was actually, it sounds really weird, but like a kind of a good thing, because it ended up, I think, saving not only my marriage, but saving myself also.
there's a Christian thing that I like, and it said, everybody you hear, God is my rock. Like people say, the reason I like everybody in the sporting world to everything is, because of God, right? God is my rock. But also is God is also the rock when you hit rock bottom. And that's what it takes sometimes, is to hit rock bottom so that he can fix you and
Abs-
make you into the butterfly instead of the hornet, like you were. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
I'm encouraged.
Good.
Doug, did you want to say something about building the toolkit? You want to say something about that?
Yeah. So, building your toolkit, I I always like to just give an example. I'm a pad guy. I've got pads everywhere, and maybe take a pad and write down all the things that are that are bad, that are bad in your life. That's easy to do. It's easy to do. And it's when you write them out and you identify them, that helps. But then also write in another column all the things that are good in your life. And you got to think about all these things that are good in your life. So, I don't personally, but I drive a Honda Civic, but I want a Range Rover. The Honda Civic's a great thing to have. How I know this? I've been to Africa. Go to Sudan and see if you see a fucking Honda Civic driving down the road. You know what I mean? Those people that's like a Ferrari to them. Well, the Honda Civic's a kick-ass car anyway, but be grateful. Moral of what I was just saying is be grateful for the things you have and take note and write those down. And you can use those to determine what it is that you want in your toolkit. You can build your toolkit off of that. The good things, gratitude and being grateful, those things are important. And then the bad list, what do you need to fix those things? Do I need to work on my health? Then put health in your toolkit. Do I need to work on my marriage? Put your marriage in your toolkit. My kids, whatever, like I had put those in your toolkit. Make your toolkit connected to those and put yourself first in the toolkit. And that's you can do that. For me, I have to think differently because obviously the damage up here, but I use a pad to determine those type of things. And or I use my athletic philosophy. My coach told me years ago, if you want to be the fastest runner, you have to run with the fastest people, period, on the planet. And so if you want to be the best version of yourself, find somebody or something that's the best version. Like bring that person. If I can't make the decision, I'm not embarrassed anymore. I'll just pick up the phone and be like, Raul, I don't know. I don't even understand this. Can you help me? And find that key component and go from there to a list. And that's an easy way to build a toolkit. It's almost like a mental toolkit by having that written on a pad. You've put it in your brain mentally and you have it visually. And that's the base of starting off. Because what a lot of people have to understand is when you're in the shit, you're in the deep, dark hole, you can't see any of this. So it is real important to make it visible in your life. That's why I'm a pad person. And Raul, you've heard me speak. I would write a pad. This helped save my life and my career. I had a pad in my car and I would write every Monday. It was like religious to me. I would write 5, 7 names on the pad. I'd scroll through my phone and I'd pick names and I would just call them on the way home from work.
Mm.
And I would just talk about good things. And I would ask them to tell me something good in their life because I just spent all day seeing horrible. And that was just a simple mental toolkit. Once again, it was written down, it was visible, and so it makes it a little easier to identify and be available. I'm talking to the people out there that struggle, that
Sure,
need that struggle, not the pros, the
sure, sure.
the
So
struggle. So
Sandy, let me expound on that and I ask you this question. How important is it, do you think, to identify your people that you can talk to about the bad shit? So and do you have more than one for different things that may be going on, in your life? Does that make sense? That's a question I'm
Yeah,
asking.
makes sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Go
Makes
ahead,
Oh,
sense.
Sandy.
I'm
Good.
Yeah.
sorry.
Go ahead, Sandy. Go ahead.
Um,
Go ahead.
through my entire life, I have not had many girlfriends in my life. And I think it's because I'm more comfortable around guys, right? Because I work with them all the time. So for me to find a female that understands the crazy shit that I do at work, right? Because you can't just go up to anybody and like, oh, I looked at child porn all day and I saw babies getting screwed. I mean, like who's gonna talk to me? They're gonna think I'm a nut. So I have very few female friends that can handle Sandy, right? So yes, I think it's very important that you have someone to talk to. It's almost been where I'm so happy I was married to a cop because if I was, I don't know if he understands, even though he didn't do what I did, he understands. So like my person is my husband. Like I can tell him like all the deep, dark, horrible shit that I've seen at work, right? But I do have friends that I can talk to, but I have to be really careful because they're mostly men, right? And you always hear like, oh, girls and dudes can't be friends. They can, but you gotta have team mom and you gotta have team dad, right?
Yeah.
And you got to make sure those lines don't blur. Like in the deep dark times, I was telling these guys all my problems about home. They took advantage of it, right? They should. That's what they do, right? But just like a girl can take advantage of guys in an affair. Well, I'm really careful what I tell my dude friends
Yeah.
about my personal life
And
because
and so that's that.
yeah,
And really quick, I'm going to interject here, and this is what I mean by having your people plural, right? Because there may be when you're talking about family stuff, you may have a person for that. And when you're talking about work stuff, you may have a
yeah,
person for that, right? And when you're talking about whatever, you may have a person for that. And you don't mix those sometimes, and at least for me, I don't, the person that I speak to about my family stuff, I can't tell them about the job stuff, the
correct.
horrible, because they just don't get that, right? And you have, being married to somebody in the law enforcement field, you kind of have a good person there that you can kind of
Yeah, you
mix
feel
all that.
safe. You feel
Yeah,
safe to let it all out.
right. But those of us that are not married to a
Yeah.
law enforcement person, yeah, at least for me, I end up having a few people, and I say few, it's like three people that are my people that I can go to them about what's going on, personally, and or within my family, and then some that another person that I can talk to about, the work stuff and what kind of how that kind of, and another person that I can, and right on this, on this Doug right there, that I can talk about. We deal with some heavy stuff around the country, and we use each other as an outlet to kind of wash that off. Because some of it can be heavy when we get that phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning from halfway around the country. And we're honored and humbled that somebody would call us and go for help, and we will pick up the phone. Uh, but we also need to make sure that we have each other to be that person to wash that off, because it can stick and it can get really heavy, and we're going on the wrong path, right? So I think it's important to have in your toolkit identify those people, uh, not just that bring you joy, because that's those people, right? And that's good too. And it may be one and the same, not saying it won't, it couldn't be, but identify those people that you can really sit down and have that conversations with, that can take it and know how to, kind of exist in that conversation without, being toxic or tragic or, bad in any kind of way. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a big problem is we're so much a helper in everything that we're used to helping people 24/7, but who's there to help us? And that you hit the nail on the head. We need to have those people there for us that we can kind of, not vomit on, but go to.
Whatever it takes to kind of get you back to
Right.
ground zero. So hey guys, we're coming up on time. This is a topic we got to kind of dive more into. We're gonna hopefully get back on it if Marky the boss says we can get back on it in the next few weeks. With that being said, I'm gonna pass it to Doug. Sandy, you'll be last. Doug, give you some final words, man, and I'll say some final words, and we'll end up with Sandy, and then we'll log it off. So go ahead, Doug.
I would say make this a priority in your life to to build it. When you walk out to work, you walk out with the toolkit. if you're a cop, you build it. If you're a woman, you got a purse full of it. You know, a man has a wallet full of it, toolboxes full of it. At least have yourself a toolkit for yourself, and however that looks like to you. You know, we don't have the way, as I always say. Raul and I have that saying from our tactical background. It's not the way, it's just a way. And those are some ways that we deal with it. And we're always, hey, Raul, I just realized I never looked at any of the questions.
There's been none. We're good. Good.
Okay.
Have it up. No, we're
So,
good. We're good.
anyway, you know, if we can ever be a help, please reach out, let us know, and we'd be honored. So thank you.
Likewise, man. It's just important to have this toolkit throughout your career, throughout your life. Um, it's going to help you. Bottom line, it's going to help you. And I'll throw it to Sandy. Go ahead.
Yeah, just to reiterate what I said, um, our toolkits will change, and that's okay. And what my toolkit has is going to be different than everybody else's toolkit. And I think you just need to, like when you said about the pad and write things down, you know, you don't have to tackle and do everything in your toolkit to bring you joy. Like it could be overwhelming, especially people that have ADD. It's like so much and they don't know where to start. Just take one thing at a time and see if it works. And if it does, great, continue doing it. If it doesn't, go to the second thing on your list. Whatever you need to do to stay healthy. And like Doug said, find your joy. And again, thank you for letting me be on this. It was an honor. And I'm always
Thank you
here to
so
help.
much. Thank you so much, Sandy. We appreciate you. And as always, if you or anybody you know is going through crisis, needs some help, our information will be in the credits. You call, we will answer, we will get back with you. We will make sure that we find some help. I always say the biggest thing that we offer, I think, to the country is that we have a network that's second to none. So we will find you to help, and we'll die trying. Is what we do. So with that, we love you, Chris. We're praying for you, my brother. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.